Today, I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know about painting the world's most difficult color, red. As I go from nothing to a full-fledged Blood Angels army and teaching you all the tips and tricks to making the bestest jungle bases you've ever seen. Because, you see, I kinda have to finish this entire army in about 3 weeks for a big upcoming tournament. Get ready, cause you guys are about to be mind blown. Earlier this year, I dipped my toe into the pit everyone knows as Warhammer 40,000, and it's safe to say that I'm kinda hooked. So today I'll take you guys through my process of starting a brand new army that will truly blow 10-year-old Lucas' mind. Back in 2009, a 9-year-old Lucas picked up his first ever 40k army with the intention of making the most epic Blood Angels army ever seen. I continued collecting them for a couple years, but I never managed to fully complete them or get the satisfaction that I deserve. But then earlier this year, some 10 years after I stopped collecting Blood Angels as a kid, I made this Sanguinor conversion that really jump-started what's about to come. And it even had Games Workshop coming in here, stealing all my brilliant ideas. Was it, Steve? You fucking leaked all my secrets again! But that brings us to today, because I have decided to try to get as much as humanly possible done of this behemoth of an army, so that maybe I can play some games and maybe or even get to go to play the tournament. Because you know, I have a reputation to uphold, because I won it last time. Especially with the playing part, because you know I'm the best player.
What are you gonna win, Lucas? How many games did you win last time, Lucas?
Half a game.
Okay, best of luck.
So I've decided to paint the following minis for you guys today. 5 Assault Intercessors, 5 Death Company Marines with jump packs, 5 Terminators, and 1 frickin' Dreadnought. Because you always gotta have at least 1 Dreadnought in your army, you know? This is by far not enough for a full 2000 points army, but I feel like this will give you guys as good of an understanding of how I paint my Blood Angels and how I think about creating a beautiful frickin' army. First real thing to consider whenever creating an army will be the bases. Because I really like to tell a story and really make it look interesting. It just so happens that the Flesh Terror's home world is this massive jungle planet filled with these huge ass monsters, lianas, plants, everything we love on this channel. Top of that, the green in these jungle bases will fully complement the vibrant red armor of my Blood Angels, so this is truly a match made in heaven. It's really one of the most important things if you really want your army to stand out on the table. To create these jungle bases, I'm gonna stack some cork coasters and barks as elevation and rocks. Adding a lot of these roots as fallen trees and maybe even living trees. And try to fill out every gap and add texture on top of all the cork coasters with this thick mud from Vallejo. Then once the bases are all said and done, it's time to base coat the minis. And I can't stress it enough, the importance of this primer being good is really key on these minis. Because sometimes when painting an army, you might actually forget to paint a pouch here and there. And if you have like a bright color shining through, it's gonna look terrible. Terrible! So make sure you have a nice coat of black primer. And now it's time to paint all of the red dudes in the army. And to make life as easy as possible, I'll start by airbrushing a mixture of gory red and black on the entire surface that's meant to be red. Then followed by a zenithal highlight of pure gory red, only in the areas where you actually want the highlight, making sure to leave that black gory red mixture shining through from below. This entire step has saved me somewhat about an hour per miniature, which means that I've saved about 10 hours just on these 10 miniatures. You know, I value my sanity high enough to make...
What sanity, Lucas?
Ah! Now we can move on to make the red armor really frickin' schmexy. This first highlight will be made to cover approximately 30% of the armor. But if you want a slightly brighter armor, you can always make the area slightly bigger. In this step I use scarlet red and really make sure to dilute the paint properly with moisture in the brush to get a smooth application. But not too much, because then it might not cover too well. Then by making these horizontal strokes, I build up the highlights. And of course, instead of painting sideways, I turn the meanie so I can pull the bristle towards me. Adding this highlight to all of the areas that are angled towards the sky and making sure to follow all of the shapes, as you can see here on the legs and here on the torso. Once I've added all the red highlights, it's time to move on with hot orange. In this step we make sure to add the highlight in a way smaller surface. Because keep in mind guys, we're painting a red armor, not an orange one. Something you can also keep in mind is to make the hot orange highlight way smaller the further down on the meanie you go, and slightly bigger the further up you go. This really makes it look like these blood angels are out in a real environment, where the closer you get to the light source, which in this case is the sun, is brighter, and the further away you're from it is more in shadow. And in case you want to incorporate more of an interesting appeal to the minis, in this step you can also start adding some scratches, dots and imperfections here and there to make the armor look really worn. Moving along from the red armor, it's now time to tackle the notorious Death Company's black armor. For the dreadnought, I began by airbrushing some metallic paint on all of the inner parts of the interior skeleton. Then picking a slightly brighter silver color, I airbrushed the same parts from above to create this nice little zenithal highlight on the metallic parts. Then it's time to airbrush the entire armor with Vallejo black. And now you might be wondering, but Lucas, how do I airbrush with a black paint and not get it onto all of the awesome looking metallic parts we've already painted? Well, we bring out this really cool black gooey airbrush thing and go to town. This particular one is from Green Stuff World, but you can use blue tack or whatever you have at home if you feel frisky. It's now time to bring out the most brilliant tool in every painter's arsenal, the sponge. By slightly diluting the sponge in some water, we dip it into this awesome dark gray mixture from black and ice yellow, and then just start to go to town on the meanie. Don't worry if you get a bit carried away in this step, because we will fix that later. It's time to apply a more conventional highlight by incorporating some more ice yellow the further along we get. That we really want to focus these highlights on a small surface and really keep a lot of that dark black color shining through in order for this to read as black. We now bring out the airbrush once again, and either using a black ink if you have that at home, or just thinning down your Vallejo black quite a lot, we cover up some of these highlights, making sure to sort of shade the entire meanie from below, and this is what will truly make this read as a black armor. at this stage we've established the two main colors of this entire Blood Angels army, the red armor and the black armor. And the next step will be to paint all the black parts on the red marines and all of the red parts on the black marines.
So when I started this channel, I had no followers, first of all, but I was looking at other YouTubers that were massive and were lucky to be like sponsored by these huge video games and mobile games that I personally played. And that was just one of the coolest things. And Lucas, today, this video is sponsored by the tactical, collectible Warhammer 40,000 mobile game Tacticus.
And the coolest thing on top of all of this, we ourselves have actually been enjoying this game on our spare time, around the office, in bed, at home, on the shitter, everywhere.
It's kind of like the perfect Warhammer fix to inject into your arms when you can't play Warhammer games or read lore.
And it really tickles my sort of creative flow, because whenever I'm sitting there, I'm scrolling through my characters, I always end up creating a new army.
Yeah.
I'm going out from the shitter and I'm like, I'm now playing orcs. Or as with this video, I'm now playing Blood Angels.
Yeah, and Tacticus, because they are also Warhammer fans, they've listened to us and we said we're gonna do a Blood Angels video. They're like, we're gonna get you a Blood Angels code. So, if you guys want some freebies for watching Squidmar videos, you just enter the code
SQUIDVEMBER
and boom!
You will get some character shards for 2 really cool Blood Angels characters.
Of course, the game is 100% free to play. So what are you guys waiting for? Go download Tacticus by following the link in the video description. And we're honestly super stoked, dude. They're paying us to freaking talk about something we enjoy, so... yeah.
Now that all the red and black is finished on the army, it's time to move on to my favorite part, the faces. For these grim vampires, I really want to make sure that they have some pale and truly grim looking faces. So the paints I'll be using for this will be burnt red, skin tone, and light flesh. Beginning by covering the entire face with burnt red, then mixing some skin tone into the burnt red, and in this step I cover everything except the parts where I want it to be in harsh shadow. Then I gradually add more and more skin tone and work my way up to the final highlights. And if you for some reason want it to pop even more, you can add some tiny dots of light flesh to the face. For those who know me by now, know that I have 2 secret steps up my sleeve that we will be applying right now. Because it's time to once again bring out the scarlet red and thin it down really, really, really a lot. We then add it as a glaze to the nose area, the cheeks, everywhere where you have an open wound, and maybe a little bit on the lips. Maybe they go out partying. And using the blue-green, we will now tint all of the areas in the face that naturally would grow hair. Meaning on these dudes, around the chin, on top of the top lip, and everywhere around the big bald head. In order to really mess up the natural flow of order, I'm now gonna attempt to paint all of the free-handed shoulder pads in this army. And usually this might be something that we wait until the end of the army is almost completed, but hear me out. For the Flesh Terrors, their big chapter insignia is such a massive part of their IP that I feel like I want to truly have as much of brain power as I humanly can when painting these. So starting off by painting a circle using Deck Tan on the shoulder pad. And as soon as I'm satisfied with the circle, I can start making these saw blade teeth. I go about it by making one straight line, followed by the curved one on the back. Once you're set with all the teeth, it's time to add a highlight using ivory. Now it's time to add the blood droplet in the center of this massive saw blade. For this, I'm using the gory red once again, and I'm starting off by painting this sort of upside down V shape. Once you have that in place, you can add this swooping half circle shape at the bottom, and then you should be pretty much good to fill it out. And boom, now we have this really cool chapter insignia freehand on all the shoulder pads, but they kinda look a bit out of place in my opinion. So now it's time to bring out the Vallejo Black and a really fine tip brush and start adding these cracks and dots along the freehand. This really breaks up the entire surface and makes it look like it's actually been out to battle for many years. The next thing I'd like to tackle will be all the gold details. This is quite an important step in the army, and it really needs to match this awesome golden lieutenant I painted a few weeks ago. And luckily for you guys, we've dumbed it down so much, making it easier than ever to paint non-metallic metal gold. And guys, if you want to follow this guide, all of the paints we use on this channel can all be found in our Squidmar essential paint sets. It's easier than ever for you guys to paint just like we do. We've got them available, link in the video description. To create this perfect gold, it's time to bring out the trusted Squidmar recipe to paint the most beautiful shining gold in the 41st millennia. Dark rust, parasite brown, ice yellow, and sun yellow. And if you're feeling a bit frisky, maybe even include the hot orange. Before I finish all of the last steps and details of the miniatures, I feel like it's time to tackle the big and, quite frankly, most important thing on the mini, the jungle bases. So the first thing to do will be to base coat the entire base using dark green. This includes the rocks, the ground texture, and all the twigs. I do this with the airbrush, but of course you can use the paintbrush to do this, but maybe use a synthetic brush or a crappy one so you don't ruin your brilliant Squidmar Mark 1 paint set brushes. Next up will be to once again bring out the old trusted sponge, and using the same steps as with the black armor, we slightly dilute it, bring out the Cayman green, and start going to town on the base. Then you can add a bit of lime green to the mix and just applying it to a slightly smaller surface. Now to take this weird green blob thing and turn it into a perfect jungle base, it's now time to bring out the tufts, the ferns, and maybe some lianas. Making sure to add a lot of differently sized and colored green tufts and also different sized ferns to really make everything sexy. As you might be able to tell, these ferns have a bit of a shiny plasticky look, but we will fix that by airbrushing some thin matte varnish to the plants. And then to add these awesome lianas, then we bring out this plastic cup, add some polar twist, some green paint and PVA glue and stir it around. Then using tweezers we can pick out each strand and apply them to the base, making it look really freaking cool. Now that the bases are all done, there's only a few details left on the minis, but to spare you guys from a 60-minute long video, we will keep that for a later part. With that said, I think it's once again time for a grand reveal!
Beyond for the physical limited
If you liked this video and want to see more like it, make sure to press that like button and subscribe to our channel, because that really makes it a whole lot more worth it to make these. And a small heads up, we only have about 300 copies of our brand Creaky Breakbrew wet palette. And if you want to grab it before it's out forever, make sure to go do it now. Link is in the video description. Massive thanks to this week's sponsor, Tacticus. Make sure to check out the game. As always, a huge gadonkious thanks to our amazing patrons. Without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this. So thank you. And also, thanks to our top donors. Bye-bye!